Hey friends, what's up? Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope that you're doing well. A little while back, I did the first part of my Lattafa fragrances buying guide, and today we're tackling Maison Alhambra, which Maison Alhambra gets a little more confusing than Lattafa because they have done a lot of fragrance name changes. And we're gonna talk about a bunch of those here today. So in today's video, I have for you 15 different Maison Alhambra fragrances. I'm gonna give you about what they cost as of this video at discounters, so you'll know about how much you'd have to pay for it. I'll also let you know what they're clones of, what they smell similar to, and whether or not I think that they're worth it at the price point that you can usually find them for. All of these are gonna be linked in the description below. Feel free to check them out down there. And with these fragrances, it's very important that you do not overpay. That's why I'm giving you that price point of where you kind of should expect to see these at. So if you see it for more than that and you can't find it for the price that I'm giving you, maybe be a little bit patient. Check those discounters that you usually shop at, wait for it to come back in stock. Now, if you're unaware of what Maison Alhambra is, it's essentially an offshoot of Lattafa. It's underneath Lattafa. And you see this a lot with clone companies, like French Avenue is part of Fragrance World, for example. Risala is part of Armaf, which is part of Sterling. It's actually all underneath Sterling. Actually, both of those are underneath Sterling, technically. So that's how it goes with these clone fragrance brands. A lot of times they have like sub-brands and then sub-brands and sub-brands. There's just a lot of stuff going on. But if you just want to simplify it, you can say Maison Alhambra, oh yeah, that's Lattafa. The first fragrance we're going to talk about is this one, Expose Blanc. Now, this is not a hype beast Maison Alhambra fragrance. Actually, I think on Fragrantica, as of when I'm shooting this, it has like 8 votes. That's right, 8 votes. Now it is dirt cheap. This is like $14. So you can get this for under 15 bucks pretty much every day. Now some places will have this a little bit closer to 20, and even at 20, it's not that expensive, but as of this video, 14 is what I found it for. And looking at this bottle, you can have a pretty decent idea right off the rip what it's supposed to smell similar to. And that is Mont Blanc Legend Spirit. There's kind of a weird thing with the Expose fragrances, other than the name, Expose. That can mean a few different things, and some of them are kind of creepy. So yeah, it's supposed to smell, according to, I think, Maison Alhambra themselves, at least according to some websites where you can find this, like Legend Spirit, but does it smell super close to Legend Spirit? Which you also run into with this one, Expose Intense, which I'll talk about in a future Maison Alhambra buying guide, but this one is supposed to smell like Mont Blanc Legend Intense, which is discontinued, but it really doesn't. At least not if you're spraying it side by side. This one actually gets a little bit closer to smelling like Ultramall. Kind of a twist, really. So you could think of this as kind of a mix mash of Jean Paul Gaultier Ultramall with a little bit of Legend Spirit. It's not exactly the same as either one of those, but it's not really a very well done Legend Spirit clone, if that is indeed what it's supposed to be, because it ends up smelling closer, like I said, to Ultramall with the twist. Still yet, it smells nice for that price point, 14 bucks. You're not gonna get much for that, at least typically. Typically, you're gonna be getting pretty garbage for that price. It's more of a spring, summertime fragrance, daytime or evening. It's sweet, but also has a woody undertone to it. It's just not exactly a one-to-one. And frankly, if you were going for Legend Spirit, I'd probably just get Legend Spirit. It's not that expensive. Now, before we hop to the next fragrance, guys, here are some different codes you can use to save money across different websites. Be aware of the JOMASHOP codes. Those change November 18th, and they only work in the JOMASHOP app. So download the app, it functions basically just like the website, and then you can use one of those codes to save yourself some money. Then we have the codes for Fragflex, Max Aroma, Beauty House, all of the usual suspects. Use those codes to save yourself some money anytime you shop at any of those websites. There are gonna be a lot of name changes. So I'm gonna give you the name of the fragrance when it was first released, and then also what it goes by now. Because Maison Alhambra got into a little bit of trouble with some of their fragrances in terms of how they were named and also how the presentations looked, because they looked basically the exact same as what they were copying. You know how this kind of looks like Legend Spirit? Like that. And Maison Alhambra does that way more than Lattafa. So with Lattafa, a lot of times their presentations and even names don't necessarily look that similar or sound that similar to the fragrance that they're very similar to in terms of smell. But with Maison Alhambra, they're like, nah, screw all that. Name it basically the exact same and put it in the same presentation. So they've had to change names, they've had to change bottle styles, but I'm gonna fill you in so you know what to look for. So next up is Amber and Leather. This is a clone of Tom Ford's Ombre Leather. You see how that works there? Amber and Leather, Ombre Leather, and the presentation style, pretty similar as well. This one has changed. So you may be able to find Amber and Leather, which is the original presentation style, but what it's called now is Opulence Leather, and the presentation style has changed a little bit. It looks like this. So Opulence Leather is the same thing as Amber and Leather. In terms of price point, you're gonna be looking at about $22 for this one from discounters, so we'll just say low 20s. I will say the Opulence Leather presentation looks a little bit nicer than this one. I've always thought the Amber and Leather presentation looked really cheap. I mean, it's heavy, it is that. That's about all it has going for it. It's got this like big sticker kind of slapped on the front, which looks like it's at a downward sloping angle, which does not scream quality to me. The cap is just a little plastic cap. Atomizer is okay. So it looks cheap. It doesn't look great. But in terms of smell, it's very well done. And for the price point, again, about 22 bucks, it is an amazing alternative to Ombre Leather. This one much more popular than Exposed Blanc over here, and this is one you should check out if you're looking for an inexpensive Tom Ford alternative. Then we've got one of the more hyped fragrances from Maison Alhambra, the Tux, which now goes by the name Winsome. Presentation looks pretty much the same, just the name has changed. So Maison Alhambra the Tux, Maison Alhambra Winsome, same thing. And nowadays, you can get this for about $22. For a while, it was very hard to find. It was sold out practically everywhere. The price was up very high at eBay and Amazon and places like that, places that actually had a few bottles in stock. But it's been in stock for quite a while now. The price has dropped back down, and 22 bucks is an amazing deal for this. In terms of what it's a clone of, it's a clone of Yves Saint Laurent's Tuxedo. So again, you can see where the issue came in. The tuxedo and presentation style very similar. And there are a bunch of tuxedo clones out there, a whole bunch. And for most people, this is the one that's right up toward the top. Like this is the one that if you're gonna have just one, is the fragrance to get. Now, if you want something that's kind of similar to Tuxedo, but it's not a clone or, from a clone brand, you can get Moustache Eau de Parfum from Rocus. That's really well done also, and fairly similar. Now another Tom Ford, and this is one of those ones where, yeah, I can see why you got in trouble. It's called Woody Oud, and just look at it. Very, very similar to a fragrance you've maybe heard of called Oud Wood, which is what this is a clone of. This is another one that's gonna be kind of in that low 20s range, about $23 or so. And they have changed both the presentation style and the name of this one. So it's now known as Dark Oud, and it has a different bottle style completely. So either one, Woody Oud or Dark Oud, they're the same thing. And this is one of those ones that for the price point, yes, it's absolutely worth it. A very well done alternative to Oud Wood, and there are many of them out there, but this is one of the best. Let's do another one of the Tom Fords. This one is Porto Neroli. Porto Neroli, yeah, so this smells similar to Neroli Portofino. Go figure. They did change the name, they did change the bottle style. It is now known as Pacific Blue. Depending on where you're shopping, you may still be able to find this one, this style, and other places are not gonna have this and they'll have Pacific Blue instead. As time goes on, this style is gonna go away. Like these are discontinued. This bottle style, this name style, these are gone. It's just old stock, may still be, sold at a different store. But those new names, the new bottle styles, that's typically what you're gonna find as time goes on. Price-wise, this one is about 22 bucks. So, really, these are priced about the same. And this is another one that's extremely well done. Neroli Portofino, to be fair, is a fragrance style that you can find across a huge price range, right? You can find fragrances that are cheap, that smell similar to Neroli Portofino that aren't clones. So you've got a lot of options out there is what I'm saying. You don't have to immediately run to this and be like, this is the only option. You could even get something dirt cheap like 4711. It doesn't have great performance, but it's gonna give you kind of similar vibes. Bulgari Man Wood Neroli, you know, that's gonna give you similar vibes. You could get something like Mugler Cologne, which is now known as Come Together. There's a lot of stuff out there that's kind of similar. But if you do wanna go this route, this is extremely well done. And for like 22 bucks, it's a steal. It smells great. Soapy, clean, fresh, perfect for spring and summer. Then we got Hercules. Hercules. This one, 18 bucks, so sub 20, and that's a clone of Herod. Of course, from Parfums de Marly, very tobacco-forward fragrance with nice warmth and sweetness, good spiciness as well. And they've got a bunch of other Parfums de Marly clones. Like I said, I'll do another buying guide as time goes on where I cover some of the other fragrances from Maison Alhambra, but they have a number of PDMs that you can check out, or PDM alternatives. Really sweet, rich, slightly syrupy, extremely appealing, perfect for fall and winter, good performance with this one. I do think that the cap kind of reminds me of like an Oregon Trail wagon or something like that. I don't know if anybody else gets that, but it gives me those kind of vibes. And this is one that, at least as of this video, is still this name. So Hercules. Probably jinxed it, and now they're gonna have to change the name. The next one's pretty funny. It's one that got a lot of hype, a lot of love, and the name has changed, but not much. So it's Jean Lowe Immortal, and the name now is Jean Lowe Immortel. So Immortal, how it originally was, Immortal, now Immortel. It makes all the difference in the world, I guess. And this one is one that the lettering on the front, if you use like microfiber cloth to clean your bottles, it will strip the lettering off. So that's fun. That's great. That's just for those of us out there who are like, oh, let me get those fingerprints off. Oh, it also took off the lettering. So this one about 27 bucks. You can tell by the presentation style, which interestingly, they apparently did not need to change, but you can tell by this style, it is a Louis Vuitton clone or alternative. And this is a clone of L'Immensité. Very fresh, sweet, zingy, has a nice gingery citrus combo there. Could also remind you a little bit of like Tiger from Bulgari, though it is much closer to the Louis Vuitton. Like I said, this one was a bit of a hype beast, one of the more well-known fragrances from Maison Alhambra. And one more Jean Lowe I want to talk about in today's video. This one, Ombre, which has also gone through a name change. It is now known as Jean Lowe Noir. So Jean Lowe Noir is the same thing as Jean Lowe Ombre. This one very slightly cheaper than this one here. This is about 24 bucks or so. And I guess you can tell why the name changed. Ombre, kind of close to Ombre Nomad, which is what this is a clone of. So this is gonna be more of a fall and wintertime fragrance. Very well done, good projection, nice longevity here. You get that rosy aspect from Ombre Nomad very clearly when you first spray this one on. And overall, it's another one where the quality is much better than the price point. This did not get as much hype as this, but I'd say in terms of overall quality, they're comparable. We'll follow that up with Kismet Angel, which did change its name. It is now Kismet Magic. And this is, in case you could not tell, a clone of Angel Share from By Kilian, which is why they had to change the name from Kismet Angel. Now, this does not get the same level of hype as things like Kamra Kawa, which are kind of in that same wheelhouse as this one, but it's really well done. It's not my favorite as far as the Angel Share clones go. I would take probably a Royal Blend from French Avenue over this one. I would rather have Kamra or Kamra Kawa over this one, even if they're maybe not quite as close to Angel Share itself as this one gets. I think they have a little more push to them, a little more deepness, richness, and overall, I just personally like those ones more. And there are so many Angel Share clones and alternatives out there. It's kind of hard to pick, you know, just a few. And it's also kind of hard for an Angel Share alternative to stick out as being like, you know, the best of the best. I think this one is really well done. It's sexy, it's sweet, it gets the job done for what you want from an Angel Share clone. It's just, if you don't care about, you know, price or anything like that, there are other ones out there that are a little bit better. But if you want to stick to a budget, this one being, you know, roughly 20 bucks, you can't go wrong with that. And I think that's where this is best. If you're shopping on a true budget and you still want something that has good quality, that's a compliment puller, that's nice for fall and winter time, then you can get this one and it will do the job. But I would check those other ones first. Then we have a Crafted Oud. This is part of their Zafiro collection. Zafiro. This one still has this name as of this video, and it's a clone of Carved Oud from Thameen, London. It's about 21 bucks, 2021, so another one that's very affordable. And if you've never smelled Carved Oud, it actually smells kind of similar to oud wood. Now this one's really well done. It's that kind of like spicy, dark woodiness type of oud instead of like barnyardy or dirty. I do think that between woody oud and crafted oud, that this one packs more punch, that the Tom Ford alternative packs more punch. It's a little bit bolder, has more of like a spiciness that really pops and grabs your attention. This one, crafted oud, maybe slightly classier, smoother, more subtle. They're in the same wheelhouse, just like the fragrances that they are alternatives to are. Really just depends on what you're after as to which one is gonna work better for you. Then we have Glacier Bold, which is a clone of Le Beau Le Parfum from Jean Paul Gaultier. The name is still Glacier Bold, and this is gonna run you about 24 bucks. Now, Le Beau Le Parfum is my jam. I love Le Beau Le Parfum. That one works very well for me. This is not a dead ringer for Le Beau Le Parfum. It's close, but approaches things a little bit differently. So you have more of like a almost sugary tropical sweetness in this one, whereas Le Beau Le Parfum is creamier, a little bit richer, heavier. Like I said, this is more sugary, a little more high tinged, probably could come across a little more synthetic to a lot of people. And it doesn't quite have that overall push that Le Beau Le Parfum has for me. Now, it's still a decent alternative, don't get me wrong. It's just, this is not gonna be like a one-to-one. This is gonna be a little more playful, a little bit sweeter in different ways, not quite as creamy. So this is a nice alternative to Le Beau Le Parfum. Probably your best alternative right now would be Codlage Island, but that is more expensive than this. I think that one is like 40 bucks. And so you've got a $14 difference between that one and this one. I would expect as time goes on that Island gets cheaper. I'm not for sure, but I would expect that'll happen. As of right now, it hasn't though. So it's gonna be really dependent on if that makes a difference to you. If that 14 bucks does make a difference, then the best bang for your buck is gonna be this one. If that doesn't really make too much of a difference, then I would say Island probably is gonna work a little bit better for more people. Either way, both are good alternatives. This is gonna be the cheaper one, the better bang for your buck, like I said. Then we have Salvo Elixir. Whatever could this be? Salvo Elixir is Sauvage Elixir. I know, it's insane. I would have never guessed. It does come with a magnetic cap, and it's okay. So that's something. You have to give it a little, you know, a little shove to make it pop off there. So, okay. To be fair, I do have some designer fragrances and niche fragrances that have magnetic caps that are worse than that, so all right. Can't hate on it, I guess. Now, I know when you look at this from afar, that looks like a 100 ml size bottle of Sauvage, right? But this is actually 60 mils because like this much of the bottle is just glass at the bottom. So it tricks you. It looks like it's a little bit more, but it's actually 60 mils. Now it is cheap. It's 21 bucks. It's not gonna run you all that much money. And it's a pretty well done alternative to Sauvage Elixir. When you smell it, you get that very woody, spicy opening that harkens back to fragrances of yesteryear, like Drakkar Noir to an extent, just like Sauvage Elixir. The question is it worth getting over something like Lattafa Assad, which is pretty much from the same company? For me, I would probably, if I was just gonna pick one from Salvo Elixir or Assad, I'd probably go with Assad. You get 100 mils from that one as compared to 60 here. Price-wise, Assad is no more expensive than this. It's just cheaper price per milliliter. Quality-wise, I don't think that this is like higher quality than Assad or anything like that. So I'd probably just go with that one. But Salvo Elixir is still really well done. It does capture most of what Sauvage Elixir is. Of course, nothing is gonna capture it exactly other than just getting the fragrance itself. It's really well done. It's just, I think Assad probably a little better. Now we have another one that has changed names. It's Victorioso Victory, which is a questionable name to begin with. Victorioso Victory, because you need to have victory more than once. This is now known as Victorioso Nero. And depending on where you look, you can find both names, at least as of this video. This is about 17 bucks. So it is one of those really, really, really cheap ones. And it's a clone of Invictus Victory. There have been a few different fragrances that have come out here recently that smell more similar to Invictus Victory Elixir. There aren't as many that smell like Victory. And this one is one that I personally love. This is one of my favorites from Maison Alhambra. I think for sub 20 bucks, it is amazing in terms of the quality, in terms of the performance, the compliment factor, everything. It really nails that vanilla sweetness that you get from Invictus Victory, and I think it's really, really well done. If you wanted an alternative to that fragrance, this is the first one I would point you to. Then we've got EXCLUSIF tobac, which is still known as EXCLUSIF tobac. Now this one, it sells out. It sells out with some regularity, and that can be kind of a pain, so I apologize ahead of time. There are other exclusive fragrances that you can find pretty easily. Exclusive saffron, exclusive oud. There's some other ones as well. We'll talk about those in a future video, but this is the most popular of the exclusives, and this smells like mystery tobacco from Carolina Herrera. When this is in stock at discounters, it's usually in the low 20s, 21 bucks or so. Because it does have a propensity to sell out, that means you might see it on eBay or places like that, people asking $40, $50, $60, maybe even more. Like I warned you at the beginning of the video, don't pay those prices. Those scumbags are trying to rip you off, man. Don't do it, yeah. Instead, pay 20. That's a lot better. Now, if you've never smelled mystery tobacco, it's kind of like in between red tobacco and Carlisle from Mancera and Parfums de Marly. Wonderful smelling tobacco scent, very rich, elegant, but bold at the same time. A compliment puller, great performance. And this one nails that. This stuff is beastly. And we'll finish up with another one that has changed names. This is tobac, which is now known as Smokey. It's a choice, and out of everything that we have spoken about so far, this is the most expensive one. All of these are under 30 bucks, but this one is not. As of this video, this one is about 36. So that makes it considerably more expensive than most of these. Now, this is a clone of Dior's Tobacular. Yeah, you see the presentation style, the name, tobac, meh. Got in trouble, but now since it's named Smokey, nobody knows what it's a clone of. Everything is okay now. I guess that's how it works. This is stupid good. It's really, really close. Like there are some here that are excellent, just absolutely fantastic. There are some here that are iffy as far as how close they get. This one is one of the fantastic ones. One of the ones that just about nails it. Nice and sweet tobacco, very easy to wear, extremely pleasant, versatile for fall and winter time. Does have a little bit of a smoky aspect to it, but maybe not enough to be called smoky, but again, who cares? And if you want an alternative to that Dior, this is the first and probably last place that you need to look. Stunning. So there we go, guys. That's the first part of my Maison Alhambra fragrance buying guide. Those are the fragrances, those are the prices, those are the name changes. That's what they are clones of. I'll hit you guys with a part 2 before too long. I guess I gotta do the Lattafa part 2 next, and then Armaf and all the other ones as well. There's just a lot to talk about. They release new fragrances like every week, I feel like. Actually, they probably release multiple every week. Thank you guys for hanging with me. Stay safe out there. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.